same time, there's a decent portion of my audience who really wants me to cover more interesting music or slightly more low-key music or
Abstract.
or just stuff that isn't as mainstream, and I know they're not going to get the same amount of views. There's absolutely no way. The last video I put out, I don't think it's even scraped 10k yet, which for a channel of my size isn't good, but the comments onto that video are like, so this is why you're the best reaction channel because you did this when other people won't, stuff like that.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Blitz Growth. We have a really exciting guest here. I can't wait to dive into a lot of the details that we're going to go over today. Before we do that, make sure to let us know in the comments what you think about this episode as you go through it. We'd love to know if you're enjoying it. And now diving into it, Jon has a super interesting YouTube channel. I absolutely love this YouTube channel. It covers trending topics and album releases in the music industry. So amazing content. He mainly focuses on reaction videos to all of these new album releases. And one issue that's been addressed in this is the copyright on some of these musics, because it's very hard to create content around music. So we're going to talk to Jon about that, how he overcame that, how he still does his collaborations. He also has up almost 3,000 Patreon fans. So you're going to learn a lot from him about how to create a really passionate, interested community around a niche, which I think Jon has done extremely well. So Jon, so happy to have you on the podcast, and let's dive in.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Great. So I love starting off by asking you, how do you introduce yourself? Like, how do you say, hey, this is what I do on the day-to-day when you're meeting a new person?
It's difficult.
Maybe meeting someone at the pub. How do you explain what you do to someone?
Yeah, I mean, I've now taken to just saying that I'm a YouTuber. For a while, I said that I made YouTube videos, and I think that confused people a little bit because they kind of thought, okay, maybe you work for somebody and you do their video content or something like that. But I think finally, especially among people my age, younger people, fine, they've known what YouTuber meant for years and years and years and years. But people my age, they're still, there's that generational gap. So I've just gone, do you know what? That is what I am. So it's up to you guys who are asking me to know what that is. I don't need to explain it to you. If you want to then ask me, I can. But yeah, a YouTuber covering the music, and pretty much not dissimilar to what you said, actually.
Nice. Well, yeah, I love the approach that you took with doing reaction videos to new album releases, because there's a few clever things that I'll go over with this, but let us know, why did you choose reaction videos to new album releases, and how did you stumble across this idea?
So basically what happened is about 4.5 years ago, a friend of mine and we both discovered or sort of stumbled across music reaction videos of channels basically who'd never heard like Metallica songs and things like that, and they were doing reactions to them, and they were really interesting. We were kind of sending them back and forth. Me and this guy had known each other for years. We used to live in the same town. He actually moved to a different town at this point, but he was already in content creation around actually like WWE stuff. So he had camera lights, all of this sort of stuff, green screen, everything like that. And we kind of said to each other, it's a shame we don't live in the same town anymore, because it would actually be kind of cool to do this ourselves just for fun, And he just said, well, why don't we do it? Like, okay, I live somewhere else, but like maybe you can just come up and we can shoot some videos and see what happens. So took, as these things do, took 2-3 months to actually get round to finding a date in the calendar to go and do it. But I went up to where he lives, about 2 hours from where I am, and we sat down and just listened to some music and sat next to each other and just talked about it. But one of the ideas that I had is we'd been watching people reacting to metal music who are typically from like a hip hop background. And so I thought, well, there's an opportunity to reverse engineer this. Basically, my friend was a massive metal guy. I liked all sorts of types of music, but we'd bonded over metal music years before. And it was basically, the idea of the channel was at first, well, my idea within that first session of recording was, okay, let's try some of these hip hop tracks. Some of these artists that I've been seeing blowing up at the time or had big fan bases, like Logic and a few other people. And let's try reacting some of this music. Some of it I had heard already, so I was like on the video, I've heard this, but I'm going to show it to Simon. The channel was called Rock Reacts, and so we did some metal reactions, some other things like that. They didn't get much traction. We had enough Twitter followers between us just to get a few people involved. But the Metalhead Reacts to Hip Hop, straight away within the first video, the first Logic video, it got like 4K views overnight, and this is a zero channel. It's a zero sub channel at this point, or like 100 subs that we got through Twitter or whatever. And we were like, okay, that's a little bit weird. Fast forward 3 months, the channel's on 100,000 subscribers. So from 0 to 100K, just caught the right time, right idea, right angle, and yeah, it just had that curiosity factor, that novelty factor. There's a reason to subscribe because all of these fans who love this type of music that we hadn't heard were suggesting more and more music. So there was a reason to get involved in this journey, you know. And
Unlimited content.
yes, basically, and so that did, you know, it took off really, and we had issues with monetization, which we can talk about later. Unfortunately, after a couple of years, he and I just kind of like basically went in different ways. We don't need to go into the details and specifics of it, but we went our separate ways. And then this was actually not long before COVID, and it would have happened anyway, just because we wouldn't have been able to actually connect to make the videos. But it happened before that. And I still wanted to do music reactions, and I really wanted to start covering whole albums because I felt you could get more in depth. And the whole time we've been doing single tracks on this other channel, the audience have been going, we need you to listen to the whole album, this whole Kendrick Lamar album, or this whole Frank Ocean album, or whatever. So I started doing that, and they started, you know, a bunch of the audience came over from the old channel. I think my channel went from like 0 to 20k subs, or like 1k to 20k subs pretty much the day the other channel finished. Bear in mind the channel was on 300k, I think, or just shy of it when we split. So I've done it twice, basically. I've mentioned then through album reactions and just trying different things, discovering different artists, sort of planning seasons around artists that I hadn't listened to over the last 10 years. To manage to, I'm nearly at 400k now. But yeah, that's where I'm at. So that's kind of like the story. It's a double build really of two separate channels that managed to build up. But yeah, it's been a mad journey.
Man, it's great that you were able to replicate the success. Super super good validation that it's a good idea and good content.
Yeah,
because if you can do it
absolutely.
twice, it's you
Yeah.
know lightning doesn't usually strike twice.
That's right. Can I
that's
swear on
really
the
good.
podcast? Is this a swearing podcast?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
whatever you want.
I was shitting myself. To be fair, when when we split, it had to happen. But at the time, I wasn't full time content creator or anything like that. But I was still shitting myself.
Mm.
But yeah, for as much as wanting to get back to that point, everyone was going, "You'll never ever get back to that point again. You'll never get that many subs again." So fuck you to all those people for one. But but also, yeah. I mean, it was a mad thing to do, to be honest. But it kind of had to happen.
Yeah, I got it. And then was there anything that you changed when you relaunched the new channel? Is there anything you learned from the first channel that you were like, okay, I don't want to do that, or I should avoid that this time around?
That's a good question. It's not so much because I think we were learning so much day to day. We were learning so much about the music, and we were learning so much about YouTube and this specific like lane of YouTube, which was kind of like burgeoning at the time. People had done it before, but the way we caught on, I would say, the second wave of it. There was a couple of pioneers, and then since then, a bunch of people have kind of done what we did, and then there's a bunch more. Now it's like kind of ubiquitous. But in terms of specific things, it was more just like I wanted to go a bit more in depth and spend a bit more time with these artists. But it was also a big learning was doing it on my own in terms of actually creating the content, because you know when you're sat next to somebody else and you don't really have anything to say, or maybe you know like your brain's not with it that day, or you haven't slept properly, or whatever
They
reason.
cover for you.
Yeah, yeah, and then maybe that starts a conversation and you bounce off each other. Whereas suddenly on your own, you're like, oh god, like I have to be on it the whole time, and I'm not just doing one song anymore. I'm doing like an hour's worth. So I definitely found that very challenging. I found like a rhythm to doing it now after all the years of doing it. But yeah, it was more just wanting to be as authentic to myself as possible, and as authentic to the fans of this music who take this music very, very seriously. Music that I'd missed out on 10 years of having kids and getting older, and it happens to so many people. They get to their late 20s and they kind of their music taste pauses, which is basically what happened to me. And I missed all this music, which is has been a fascinating thing to be able to discover along with an audience as well. It's been very cool.
Mm. No, it's really cool. And then I know in terms of your video production actually and what you do. So I know you have like a pretty cool setup there and the green screen and everything. But what really got my attention was actually all your thumbnails. Your thumbnails are really good. Is there some sort of like process that you use for your thumbnails? Because I noticed that you're kind of pulling crazy faces in all your thumbnails, and that's actually what makes you want to click. Have you found that there's like a formula that you use to kind of create your thumbnails?
Yeah, I've been experimenting with them for a while. Like the sort of standard reaction thumbnail is thing that someone's reacting to, kind of crazy face. But I'm also aware that my audience is a little bit older than like your classic sort of Sidemen Reacts type of audience who may still be in their late teens or early 20s, and they've grown up with that really crazy over the top
Yeah.
face. So it's always
Yeah. Yeah.
striking that balance between all the faces come from the actual reaction. You know, they're frozen, and we pick
They're
one out.
legit.
They
Yeah.
are legit, yeah. But I've found some which are, you know, I think maybe that's a bit too much. That's going to put somebody who's in their 30s off clicking it. So it's a difficult balance. But in terms of the composition and stuff, I actually did a consultancy call with a guy called Jay Alto. Shout out to Jay. He'd be a good person to actually have on his
Mm.
podcast. He
Yeah.
just focuses on thumbnails. He's a brilliant follower on Twitter if you're a content creator. And
Wow.
yeah, I went on with the guy who was helping me design them, and we realized that I'd actually been looking over to like the left of the thumbnail, whereas the album artwork was on the right the whole time. So like the image was good, the album artwork was clear on a lot of them. Maybe we'd use some text, all fine. And he was just like, "Yeah, you need to just move to the right so you're looking at the thing." And I was like, "I can't believe we never thought of that." But just simple stuff like that was a game changer. And straight away from doing that, the CTR, the click through rate started to go up on all of them
Wow.
straight away. So yeah,
Dang.
it's something that I think about a lot. I always think that we can improve on them, but then again, I see people who do more views with bigger channels than me who don't have thumbnails as good, I guess. So yeah, it's something that I've spent a lot of time stressing about, but I think we have a nice formula now that works, and yeah, we're constantly adjusting it just to make it right. But I'm happy. I mean, if I've got an album or a video that I know is going to be big, and the CTR is sort of at the beginning anyway, up in the 8%, then I know, okay, we've nailed the thumbnail. And then it's like, is this going to work for the future audience who may then find my channel, who don't already subscribe, who don't already know who I am? Do we then change it for that? I'd love a situation actually if YouTube could work like Netflix, where you could have thumbnail for your audience, thumbnail for people who don't know you, thumbnail for under 25s, thumbnail for over 25s. Wouldn't necessarily do it on every video, but on some of the bigger ones, it definitely do that, because thumbnail for a female audience, for example, thumbnail for a male audience, all that sort of stuff. I think that will probably come to YouTube eventually, but yeah, especially if somebody like Mr. Beast pushes it. But yeah, it's
Shout out to Mr.
yeah,
Beast.
shout
Do
always,
it.
yeah.
Dude, that's awesome. That's really insightful about the thumbnails, because I also noticed, you've got a few really big ones from a few really big videos
Hmm.
from some of the obviously the more well-known artists. What's your balance between choosing, your content? So, do you go mainstream, choose the big artists? Does that help with the collaboration side of things and like kind of borrowing some of their fame? Or do you kind of stick to the more interesting stuff? It's a little bit more niche that you maybe enjoy doing a little bit more. What's your kind of balance on what content or songs you decide to cover and feature?
That is probably the thing that I spend the most time stressing about and worrying about, thinking about, changing my tactics about. Obviously, if there's going to be a big artist, a Drake, Beyonce recently, like easy, audience likes it. There's a like a synchronicity and a synergy between audience wants to see the reaction, I want to hear the music, and the artist is big, so it's going to drive search traffic as well as the recommended traffic. Perfect, but there are situations where I go, okay, well, there's big pop artists. I could go down like the K-pop BTS route and stuff like that and cover them, but um, he's just like, there's a part of you that wants to just try and get as many views per video as possible. It's the YouTube game, and you do have to play that game as much as possible. But at the same time, there's a decent portion of my audience who really wants me to cover more interesting music or slightly more low-key music, or or just stuff that isn't as mainstream. And I know they're not going to get the same amount of views. There's absolutely no way. And just as they don't get the same amount of streams or sales or anything like that as artists. But the ones that when I do, I mean, this is actually the last video I put out. Is I mean, I don't think it's even scraped 10K yet, which for a channel of my size isn't good. But the comments under that video are like, I'm so, this is why you're the best reaction channel, because you did this when other people won't, stuff like that. And I actually take a lot of inspiration from Anthony Fantano, who's obviously the main music channel on YouTube. Some are technically bigger in terms of subs, but I think everybody would kind of say he's the number one guy. And he will, despite 2.5 million subs on his main channel, he will review an album and get 30k views, which is still fine, but for a 2.5 mil sub channel as a ratio is terrible. But he, I think, over the years has said that I need to just be covering the stuff that I want to cover, or I'm going to go mad. So he will cover big stuff, and I think his Kendrick Lamar review has 2 million views. So it shows that you don't need to stress too much, but there is always that worry on YouTube. If you do, say, 3 vids in a row that tank, does it shrink your potential audience? I mean, yes, it does. So yeah, constant worry, stress, and then you're kind of at the mercy of new releases as well. I used to do a lot of like classic albums that I hadn't heard, and I still do that, but I feel like I've completed it a little bit. Like I've hit all of these major ones, and
The
you
big
can see
ones.
them. Yeah, you can see a lot of them at the top of my channel if you go on my channel. But now it's like, okay, well, now we're on to like mixtapes from these artists that before they did their first studio album, or like a B-sides record or something like that. And there's not necessarily so many classic records that I haven't covered yet. So it's a challenge, man. Honestly, that is the number one challenge. And yeah, trying not to stress about that too much is a battle.
Yeah, well, I think it's an important thing to understand the balance between content you want to create versus content that your followers want to see.
Yes.
And obviously, the more closely aligned that is, the better it is for everybody, but it's not always the case.
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, like, especially as the last video I put out, the Danger Mouse and Black Thought record, amazing record. Highly recommend listening to the records. Yeah, like I say, seemingly the majority of the audience isn't that necessarily interested in clicking on that video, but I'm happy that I did it. I think it's a good video. That's the main thing I want to focus on. Can I make the video as good as possible? Which can be difficult when you're reacting to music that you've not heard of as well. Like if an album's like a
Or if you
5
don't
out of
like
10,
it.
if you really don't like it, it makes for a good video because you can kind of go in. But like a boring 5 out of 10, generic, nothing's being said. Oh, it's difficult because I mean, it's like anybody. You just listen to it and be like, "This is forgettable." But I'm trying to be insightful, and people don't necessarily want to watch somebody reacting to something that they don't massively care about. So yeah, those ones we just cut really short and make them nice and pacey. And I try and put jokes in, but yeah, it's a challenge. It is. It's a challenge for sure.
Well, you produce a lot of content. How much content are you putting out a week? Like, do you have a schedule or something? You seem to really have a good process down.
I've scaled down a little bit. When I first was going out on my own, I was doing daily, and a lot of those were album reactions daily, and I was editing it all myself. So I was going ham, to be honest, working 12, 14-hour days, 5 days a week. Got wife and kids in the house and stuff like that. So it was starting to be a bit too much. And so it was gone down from like 30 videos a month down to a good month should be now around 16, I would say. Some
Okay.
single
That's still a
tracks,
lot.
some albums. It is, yeah. Some single tracks, some albums, and some like topic videos or like ranking videos or news-based videos. And then maybe a few extra little single track reactions on the side. And I also do some exclusive stuff for Patreon. But I took on an editor earlier this year, which has been, yeah, lifesaver, to be honest, in terms of just having a bit more mental space to think about things, to do other sides of the business as well. And I'd never really enjoyed the editing side of it. I'm not very good at it. I can do it for my channel, but you'd never want to hire me to edit your videos. It wouldn't be very good. I just basically learned how to make reaction videos on Premiere with a green screen. And then I got quite good at cutting to the music and giving it a good pace. But yeah, I brought in Joe, my editor, who it took maybe a few weeks for him to kind of match my style, and then quickly he just so much better. And yeah, it's not even close. So yeah, if anybody's on the fence about it, who's a content creator, the sooner you can, get it done. Even if you're only just like handing out one in every 5 videos or something like that, or just to give yourself a bit more breathing room.
Yeah, I think the other thing is also when you're bringing on new team members, don't expect it to be better than you day one.
No.
As you said, it takes a few weeks to find a good rhythm, find a good system to work with you as a creator, and then your editors or whatever person you're hiring for that role. So that's good insights for sure. Agree with your advice. Definitely try and get help for what you're not good at.
Yeah.
Not
sure.
that I'm not saying you're not good at it. But,
No, I wasn't. It's fine.
Okay, so that brings up next interesting point. So big elephant in the room is all of this music, obviously copyright.
Mm.
One of the big revenue streams for YouTubers is the ad dollars. So how do you kind of overcome that? How do you pivot? It seems like you have a few different ways that you're able to monetize this content to, make this your full-time gig. So yeah, how did you kind of go about that?
So yeah, we discovered fairly early. Well, actually, when we started Rock Reacts, we didn't get monetized at all for 3 months because it was just when YouTube changed from anybody could be in a partner program to the 1,000 subs and what is it? I
Yeah,
can't
it's
remember the amount of
4,000 minutes
4,000.
viewed or
Yes.
something, something like that.
So they changed to that, and because they changed to that, they had this massive backlog of channels that had achieved that, and then they had to review them. So we didn't actually get into the partner program for 3.5 months. So we got over 100K before we were even monetized, which is,
Wow.
oh yeah, that was mad. But then we quickly realized that every single video was getting content claimed by the labels anyway. And
Hmm.
there's almost nothing you can do about it. You can dispute the claims. And for a while back on the old channel, we were disputing the claims and they were actually getting released. I don't know if there was just like a good guy working at UMG at the time who kind of understood.
Just throwing your bone.
Yeah, but that basically stopped happening, and now, yeah, on my channel, I just kind of accept that they're not going to be able to be monetized.
Hmm.
Anything where I'm using music isn't going to be able to be monetized, like rightly or wrongly. I think ones where I'm
Hmm.
heavily editing the music, there's a lot of my own personal content in there, a lot of my discussion, a lot of my review. I think it should at least be a rev share, but
Hmm.
actually trying to get to speak to all the different people involved, all the labels, all the subsidiaries, everything like that. It's almost
Yeah,
like
nightmare.
the amount of time it would take to get one video monetized that, may do 50K, may do 100K views. Like, how much ad rev is that actually going to bring in?
Yeah,
I'd love it all. I
especially on a
mean,
rev
yeah.
share.
I mean, I stupidly looked at my total views of the channel, my average CPM that I get on non-monetize, the videos I can monetize, how long my
Yeah,
videos are, so how many mid-rolls you can put in without it being offensive, because some of them are like 30,
yeah. So
40
you
minutes
figured out that
long.
number.
Yeah, figured out a number, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah. So every time I'm looking at a few $100 here and there on an individual video, but yeah, when I totted it all up, I was like, that is a could have done with that money. But
Yeah,
the
yeah,
talking about pivoting, it was a good kind of like story, a good narrative to start a Patreon because you had an instant reason beyond please pay me or I'm going to make some extra videos. Like, you know, as an audience, we all know that the reaction channels can't make money. The music reaction channels can't make money from the videos. So in order to keep doing this, please, can you come and help? And if you do, I'm going to do extra content, this and that. So that's kind of it was a good way to start the Patreon, and it's still the case, And I've spoken to other channels who've started since and after me, and kind of given them advice in this space as well. And then I think people understand, people who follow these channels and have done for a number of years, do understand that a certain amount of the audience does need to help in order for the channels to go to keep going because we've lost some channels, man. Like 400K channels gone, just dead. Other channels who were regular are now uploading for fun, maybe 2-3 times a year when a big album drops, just to do it. No, not for anything like that. So there's only a few of us who've managed to turn this specifically into a full-time thing. And yeah, some of us are just like trying to pivot to reviews so we can monetize. But I always said to myself, even when I kind of knew that it wasn't going to be possible to monetize. And even when we weren't in a partnership program, I always said a big YouTube channel, and by big I meant like 100K plus subs at the time, is just a way to make money. Like it is a way to create a business. Like having that audience size is a way to create a business, and even if you can't monetize the videos, so that's always been my mentality, and I always knew that, and that's what I try and tell other people. And so a lot of people focus a lot on ad rev, and I can understand why. If you've got a massive channel, like I've known Ali A for a long time, for 10 years, and like I'm not going to speculate on what he earns, but I see how many views he's done and how many views he's done for how many years and what cars he drives, and that you can just put it all together. But yeah, in terms of the pivot, it's been Patreon first and Patreon still, and that will continue to be the main income source for me, I think, for a while. Maybe when the channel, if and when the channel gets to another level, the brand deal side might overtake that, but right now it's not. But yeah, it's starting to work with some more people on some more brand deals. Thankfully, some brands are interested in working with the channel. And then obviously there's other revenue streams which I haven't really explored enough of yet, like merch, which is something that I keep putting off, and yeah, just some other things on top of that. Well, maybe selling a product, maybe selling a digital product, and but yeah, like I say, I do a lot of videos, so finding time and mental space to add things, add what do they say, strings to the bow. Yeah, hasn't happened yet, but Patreon has been a complete lifesaver, especially during the lockdown.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we hear a fair few other people that we interview similar thing. Like it's just been a great way for content creators to actually get paid for all the hours that they put in. Um, but yeah, I think the one big takeaway for all the listeners is, even if you are just getting started, like the main point of all of this is to grow that audience, that passionate group of people,
Hmm.
and then you will be able to monetize them somehow. You just need to find the right monetization strategy, and you listed out a bunch of them there.
Yeah.
But I would say, yeah, Patreon or some sort of paid membership or group seems to be the easiest one to start with, and then go from there. But yeah, how do you kind of offer value in the Patreon group? So obviously you have a really nice buffer because it's like, hey, YouTube doesn't pay out any of the ad dollars, so to keep this channel running, we got to run, Patreon. But how else do you kind of add value to people to get them to sign up to your Patreon?
Hmm. So we do a number of exclusive album reactions on there a month. It was 4 a month, but pivoted slightly because it was just getting a bit too much. And a lot of those are decided by the audience on Patreon, by the community. So they'll like list a bunch of albums, upvote the ones that they like on the post on Patreon, and then I'll put those in a poll. Whatever wins, that's the one that I'll do. So yeah, that, and then doing 4 of those a month was a good way to just bring people in. It was like maybe every time I put one out, maybe 100, 150 people would sign up. And then I started realizing that if I did an individual song that people liked as a video on my channel and said, this is a clip from the thing that's on Patreon, obviously, then that video
Oh,
is just getting
nice.
out to so many more people than a tweet and a community post. And so
Hmm.
that was really seeing some growth in doing that. And I haven't actually done that so much recently, just because, like I said, I've covered a lot of the albums that people wanted to see. So, and I knew I could kind of sense this was happening, and people really want to see the first Drake, not the first Drake, like Drake Take Care or Weekend Kissland or something like that. But okay, once you've done all these, do they really want to see this Drake album, or do they really want to see this kind of underground album that the patrons want to see? But how many people are actually gonna jump on to see that? So I go, okay, well, what else can I do? And I can't believe I didn't think of this sooner, but I just started putting the album reactions uncut on the Patreon, like using a separate video service. So there's no edit. You can sit there, vibe to the whole thing, and yeah, that's just like an added thing in the same tier as the exclusive stuff. And then I was actually inspired by a channel that I've helped at the beginning and have now just blown up to crazy levels. A channel called Turning the Tables, where I don't know if you've seen them. The son shows the dad the albums, and the dad react. It's an amazing channel. And they just started quite simply because they're not doing new music a lot of the time. It's basically 95% of what they do is classic stuff. They were just going day early access on everything on Patreon. So you get your uncut, extended, and that. And I was going, okay, well, every time I do something that's not necessarily massively timely, I could put it up 1 to 2 days early on Patreon again. So it's just another piece of added value. And yeah, the Patreon's been steady for a while. At first, it seemed like it was really great. It was growing and growing and growing, and I was like, "Wow, if this keeps growing at this rate, then I'm gonna be life's gonna be amazing." But it stayed steady for a while. A lot of people have been with me on the Patreon for years, which shout out to those guys, amazing support. Some people come for a couple of months, dive out for a couple of months, but they might always come back as well. So if you are starting a Patreon, I would definitely try not to stress too much about the churn because it will drive you mad, especially the way Patreon it doesn't tell you on your number of patrons throughout the month who's cancelled. So it's only at the first of the next month, and you go, "Oh my god, I've lost this many people. I've lost this much money." But in actual fact, if you'd seen it happening throughout the month, you'd be a bit more chilled about it. So yeah, I've just learned to try not to get too stressed about that. Make sure I'm delivering as much content as possible and as quality content as possible, and engaging with people. That's the most important thing. Like a lot of people will sign up for content, But a lot of people just want to sign up because they want to support people. Like I support maybe 10, 12 channels and podcasts on Patreon. And that's just because I want to. It's not because of extra content. Some of them, you get an extra podcast or something, so that's great. But the majority of the time is because I appreciate what they do. I know how difficult it is to be in this space when you're kind of in the middle ground. Like, the big people are making a fortune. A lot of people out there who aren't able to turn this into a full-time thing, but there's another middle ground where you're going from trying to basically make a living. Can you make a living? Can you do this sustainably? Are you going to stress yourself out too much? And I always want to support those guys, just to especially from Patreon fund that's coming my way anyway. So and for those guys, I think just engagement and communication is key. You hear these stories about people who've got 1,000 followers on Twitter, 1,000 subs on YouTube, and they're not replying to their commenters. They're not replying to their DMs at this point. And of course, when you get to a certain size, it's impossible to do that with everybody. But like, there's names that I've been seeing for years that have been speaking to me online, on Patreon, on Twitter, on the channel, and it's like, just a quick reply or a little conversation or even a like. Sometimes the fact that people can't be bothered to do that worries me, because those people they're writing for you, man. Sometimes literally, financially as well. So yeah, communication
Yeah,
and
put in some
engagement.
effort.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah, no, it's super interesting. And then in terms of the engagement with the community, are you doing the whole Discord thing, or are you just kind of like engaging on like Twitter and all that those other social
Twitter is the
platforms?
best place for me because it just makes sense with my brain. I've been on it basically since it started, and my previous job before I did any of this was as a writer. So like, I can type super fast, and writing just comes to me very quickly. Discord is not something that I grew up with. I've always tried to stay fairly abreast of all the new apps and tech and everything, and try not to be too much of a dinosaur. But Discord kind of like passed me by, and then I came to it late, and it's confusing. I'm better with it now, and I do have a Discord. We had one on Rock Reacts, and it actually got quite big. And then we had some mods, and then they weren't really doing their job, and we didn't really go in there enough. And then I went in, and some people had set up like a sub channel in there, and it was not acceptable content. That's all I'll say. So that had to be closed immediately. I was like, oh my fucking god, I cannot have my name anywhere near this. So then I just did a Patreon just for, sorry, a Discord just for Patreon, which was fairly quiet. And again, because it's not something that I grew up with and not something that was like part of my day-to-day internet habit, I would again forget to go in there for ages. And so people would feel a little bit left out, and it was actually probably doing more damage than good. So now I've opened up an open one again, but I've not advertised it that much. So I'm in there fairly regularly. It's quiet. It has a Patreon section and an open section, but I'm not like putting it at the bottom of every video or anything like that. And that's a more manageable thing, because I don't have managing a massive Discord with hundreds or thousands of people in it in me, on top of everything else. So yeah, it's a great tool, amazing, but it is a bit confusing to learn off
It's
the
hard to
spot.
get your head around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
No, that's a common trend. It's over engineered.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, that's great. And then it looks like your channel's verified. What is the impact that having a verified YouTube channel has on all of your business ventures? And then what's the criteria for even people looking to try and get verified?
On YouTube, it's 100k subs, I believe, for verification. It's at least that it was on the two times that I've done it across the two channels. In terms of verification on YouTube, I don't know what impact it has on my business, because I think it is that standardized number on YouTube. So basically, every channel that has that, if they've chosen to just click it doesn't take much to go and do it within YouTube. They get that tick. So I think any brand or anything like that sees that tick just kind of knows, okay, the channel is of a certain size. Whereas on other socials, I've not been able to be verified, and it's definitely, I would say, an impact on Twitter. I've been trying to get verified on Twitter. I see people with the 10th of the followers of me with verification badges, and I'm like, I don't really understand what I'd need to do. I've tried to get verified a few times. And that does make a difference, because if you see a blue tick in your replies to any tweet, you do know it's just a natural thing that we do. Whether if you see it in your DMs, if you see it, whether it's on Insta, whether it's on Twitter, you do pay attention to that one. You click on that profile. You're trying to see who that person is. So You don't want to live in a society where a little tick next to your name means something, but it does, and you just have to be honest about it. It does, and I actually forget that I actually have one on YouTube, because it's been like the YouTube channels have been quite big for a while, and now my sub growth is slower than it used to be. It's more like a lot of the views coming from my subs, if that makes sense. So it's just like trickling along. So yeah, I'm trying to grow this followership, or trying to go on this platform, and I forget sometimes that it's like, oh, I see someone, oh, wow, they got 150k on Twitter, and I go, well, John, you got like 400k nearly on YouTube. That's a real thing that happened. But I guess you just lose perspective in any of these things. Numbers, man, they you know, if somebody with a massive YouTube channel was doing my numbers, and they'd be crying on the floor. But if you told me when I first started YouTube, when I first tried it, before even the music stuff, I tried some video gaming stuff ages ago. If you told me I'd be in a situation where I'd be annoyed if I was only getting like 5k first hour on a video, I mean, yeah, it's all perspective, isn't it?
Yeah, grass is always greener too.
Yes, for sure, for sure.
Always greener on the other
Yeah.
side. But when you get there, it's always the other side that looks better.
Yes.
Um, okay, that's awesome. So yeah, essentially YouTube verification not as important. Social channels a little bit more important, probably because you just have that like that visual cue in DMs posting. You're right. I definitely pay more attention to the blue ticks. Unfortunately,
It's just natural, isn't it? Like, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay, awesome. Mentioned that you're doing a few things with, some brand sponsorships, partners, that sort of stuff. Have you ever gone down the affiliate route of kind of like choosing a few products to kind of promote that you think your audience would like? Is that a good kind of monetization method to go down? Because people always kind of, iffy whether they want to go down that path or not.
I think it's a good monetization. I think it's a good method if you're going to be covering like a tech channel. Fantastic. A lot of channels that do it are like almost like YouTube tutorial channels, I guess you would call it.
Yeah, like the review sites.
Yeah,
those guys.
I could do it, but I wouldn't. I mean, sorry, can you hear my kid is screaming? Can you hear that?
Sounds like he's having a good time.
Yeah. Sorry.
You can't hear him too much.
Yeah, I mean, he's old enough, so I'm not that worried about it. Right. So where was I? Yeah. Affiliate. Yeah, there's stuff that I could look at. Like, I mean, I could actually do a video about my setup, maybe, and put some affiliate links in that. I'm looking to hopefully get some deals lined up with like maybe headphones, mics, that sort of stuff, and then I would do that. But in terms of like standardized products, not so much. But I think there are also opportunities. Like, I'm always amazed when I speak to people like agency people, or sort of marketing people, that the likes of Spotify or even YouTube Music themselves aren't working with us directly. That seems like a really easy, like an affiliate program for Spotify Premium, for example. I would have thought all of us, from the guys with 2k subs all the way to the biggest guys in the game, we should all have that. Like all the gaming channels have their little like gaming marketplace affiliate link, their headset affiliate link. From you start getting those deals in 10k subs in gaming, and I mean, I know that because that was the space that I worked in before. But yeah, the music industry is just still in dinosaur mode. I think they're just about catching up to the fact that people stream music now. So they're in about 2006. So yeah, one day they'll catch up, but I'll be too old by then.
No, it's interesting because I think it is a super, super great way to monetize, and I think it's very easy to get started with in comparison to some of the other monetization options that content creators have. Very small amount of effort goes into it. Essentially signing up to an affiliate program and just putting a link in your bio or putting a link in your product, your video description. So I always like to ask content creators if they go down that path or not, because I think it is a good starting point for sure.
Yep, definitely.
All right. Only a few more questions here, and then we'll wrap it up because I know you got stuff to do, and I want to keep this engaged for the listeners. But going back to everything that you've done, sounds like you came from the gaming space. Would you? I know gaming is huge, and there's so much money in gaming. Would you have changed anything going from down this path of doing music, all the challenges that you faced, or all the different ways you've had to pivot? Would you have, wanted a 400k sub gaming channel, or are you happy you kind of went down the music channel? What's the look back window look like in terms of what you would have done differently?
That is a really good question. It's definitely something that I think about a lot because I have a lot of interest. Like I say, I came from gaming. I was a games journalist, then like consulted and did some like brand marketing stuff in that space for a long time as a freelancer. And I like football and other things like that as well. So I always think, there's definitely other things I'd like to be talking about. It's less so with the
Hmm.
challenges in terms of the monetization. Yes, I would love to be in a situation where I could have the exact same size channel, same views per month, and monetize that channel as well. But then I think to
Yeah.
myself, well, would I have ever started the Patreon? What would actually be the better revenue stream? I
Hmm.
don't know. But yeah, in terms of like, would I change anything? Not necessarily. I don't think,
Hmm.
to be honest, that I would have been able to grow a YouTube channel in the first place without that idea. And that idea
Hmm.
was the music. Like I said at the beginning of the show, the right idea, the right title, the right moment, the right timing, the right artist. Like it was just really serendipitous, but at the same
Hmm.
time, it was tactical. And
Mm.
before I tried some gaming stuff, like I used to be a game reviewer for magazines, so I just tried to do that on YouTube, and I put 100 videos in. I really put the graft in,
Wow.
and it didn't really do anything. You're just fighting
Hmm.
into the space. And then what was really useful about that time is I learned a lot about how YouTube's backend worked,
Yep.
tags, descriptions, all that sort of stuff. Got a bit better at thumbnails, or just understanding analytics a little bit. So that was really valuable, even though it didn't really go anywhere. But that probably put me in a place to be able to do what we did. But yeah, I mean, I just don't think without the music that it was gonna happen in the first place, to be honest.
Yep.
Because yeah, it just with the way my life was, I'd already had kids. Like I say, by the time that all this sort of stuff happened, I'd been in the world of work and media for a long time. So I think a lot of people who start YouTube channels and blow up quickly, they have a lot of free time. Certainly back then.
Hmm.
People who start when they're teenagers and things, and they still live at home and things like that. Not to generalize, because loads and loads and loads of people haven't done that, and everybody's got their own
Yeah.
path. But that was my perception of
Hmm.
it at the time, anyway. So, yeah, man,
Yep.
you'd want an idealized world, but at the same time, I'd rather have 400 million subs and do. Actually, I don't know. That would be a bit too stressful, I think. No, but I'm just honestly, I'm just really thankful for everything that's happened. The fact that I was able
Yeah.
to keep everything going for the family during COVID. So I lost my other job, my main source of income at the time,
Mm.
just before COVID, and then
Yep.
yeah. So no, shout out to
This
to,
worked
to
out
the
really
audience.
well.
Yes, it has done. I took a
Hmm.
big risk going full time. COVID happened a month later, and yeah, thankfully I managed to make it work through yeah, like I say, hard work, luck, and tactics. I think is
Hell yeah.
the three things that I always put it down to.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think a massive learning for everybody listening here is like, don't chase the high CPM channels. Don't chase the things that you see everybody working. Don't chase the stuff that you see everybody else doing well or you see being the top something. I think chase the idea that's unique, chase the idea that you like doing, chase the content that you want to actually create and you're going to put the time and effort into. Because I do see a lot of beginner YouTubers like trying to do what the top guys are doing or just trying to follow the trend. And then, as you said, 100 videos in, nothing's happened.
Yeah.
Whereas if you've got some sort of unique spin on something, you have some kind of reason for someone to watch your channel over someone else's, I think you've got a much better chance, which sounds like you kind of nailed that.
100%. Yeah, I mean, I definitely would encourage anybody to focus on whatever they're passionate about. There's going to be like YouTube's proven for years that there will be an audience for anything that you're interested in. Whether it's I got recommended these disgusting videos of hooves, like horses' hooves or cows' hooves, I think, being like scraped
Oh,
and
yeah, I see
like you
those
see, there's
too.
like
Ugh.
millions of views, million. I was like, why am I being recommended this? I clicked on it and then I started getting recommended loads, and I was like, I don't want to see it. I don't even want to see the thumbnails. This isn't for me. So I had to do the like don't recommend this channel thing, but that really just cemented as like, wow, there is an audience for everything, and then it's just finding the
Yeah.
angle within that. What makes your thing clickable in the first place? Obviously, you've got to back that up with the content, but people are actually quite forgiving of a small channel having rough production values, as long as it doesn't sound terrible and it's not all like breaking up and it all hurts your ears. People don't mind if you've got a webcam and stuff like that, especially early on. It really doesn't matter. But if you've got that authenticity, that passion, maybe that knowledge if you're trying to be an expert, maybe that lack of knowledge if you're doing something like we did in the first place and being an outsider looking in and trying to learn about something, then that will go so much further than, like you say, trying to trend jack Mr. Beast or trying to trend jack one of the big guys. You can do that when you're also quite big, and there are people who've done that from scratch, to be fair to them, but that's a rare level of execution, I think. Like a Ryan Trahan, someone like that. That's they're like, it's like a Cristiano Ronaldo or something. Like, it just doesn't happen very often. Like, you can't expect that to happen. So, but you can get to a point where you're 2,000, 10,000 subs, doing maybe 100,000, 200,000 views a month. It's not going to be a full-time job for you yet, but that's thrilling, man. That to have a community and people that you're interacting with. Yeah, side hustle, and then that's an in to speak to people who are slightly bigger in your space. Sure, maybe set up some collaborations, and yeah, and you'll learn so much about YouTube and other things from doing that. So I'd always recommend it, but it is hard, and like the luck thing is real. Like, it really is.
Yeah, I think that is a common trend across all the people that we interview. Like, we were interviewing a girl last week, and her top video had like 32 million views, and they just like literally did cover songs. And she was like, yeah, well, we were just doing folk music live events, and then we decided to upload some to YouTube, and just got super lucky that people loved this video and loved that song cover, and then that's what started everything. So I think you've got to have a little bit of luck, a little bit of talent, and a little bit of timing.
Yes,
all of those things together make it work.
Yeah.
Okay, well, awesome. So, Jon, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Where can everybody find out more about you, what you're doing? Tell us how we can get in touch or how we can follow your content. Where should we go?
Yeah, for sure. So it's Jon Denton on YouTube. It's Jon, no H in that. And it's the same on Twitter, at Jon Denton. So either of those. I've got Instagram as well. But, go and subscribe to the channel if you like. If you're interested in modern music, then I'd highly recommend it. And yeah, come and hit me up on Twitter, man. Come and have a chat.
What about TikTok? I saw you've just started TikTok.
Yeah,
How's that going?
TikTok is like a sort of not great for my mind, to be honest. I've had my biggest pieces of content in terms of pure numbers are on TikTok, and I couldn't tell you why. I couldn't tell you why this one has got 4 million views and why this one got 17,000. I don't know. I don't know if I was tricked to pull me into the TikTok ecosystem. I don't like spending time on the app myself because I'll lose an hour and a half without, I truly feel unproductive when I'm on TikTok. It's too entertaining. It's, and same for shorts. It's not just TikTok, same for shorts, same for reels. Yeah, they're all too entertaining. They scare me. Don't open those apps first thing in the morning or last thing at night. Like, honestly, don't. If you can take any recommendation from someone who's turning 40 tomorrow, actually, by this podcast, then I would highly recommend don't touch them. Be on them, create on them. They're amazing, but just understand.
Be careful.
Be careful, really, though, because my kid is 11 and he's got a phone now, and I'm like, mate, I'm not even mad at you. This thing is too distracting. Like, when I'm talking to you, you have to put it down because I'm bad, but you're 11. Like, it's way harder for you.
You don't even know any different.
Exactly. So yeah, just be wary, I guess. But yeah, you can follow me on TikTok. Jon Denton 22.
Yeah. As we just sledged. No, I'm the same thing. I love to hate it. I agree with you. It's very, very unproductive. Like, I heaps prefer the Twitter, the YouTube stuff where I'm learning something or I'm doing something, as opposed to just like watching Foul Nation Army videos.
Yeah, I went on it the other day and there was some like mad skateboard trick, then a parkour thing, and then the next thing I saw was a guy hang gliding, and then an eagle flew like onto the hang glider and onto his handlebars. I was like, there's no way I should be able to take in that much incredible information in the space of 5 seconds to start my day. That was way too much. Like, it was amazing, all of it. But it's like, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to function now after seeing that? So yeah, it's too much.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, you've heard it all. Jon, unbelievable guest, sharing awesome insights on improving your YouTube, improving your content, setting up, how to grow channels, how to set up Patreon, all that sort of stuff. So much learning. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, give us a comment, let us know what you liked about it. We are looking forward to bringing you more episodes, so stay tuned. And Jon, thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much for letting us interview you. Appreciate your time.
Man. Thank you.
All right. Hey guys, we put a bunch of effort into making great content for this YouTube channel. So please hit subscribe, leave us a comment, hit like, and tell a few friends about it.